Hello dear friends, this is your personal English coach Professor DC. In this video, we will be understanding a thought-provoking poem called Once Upon a Time. Although the title resembles to that of a story, this is a poem in a form of a free verse. This poem is written by Gabriel Okara, a Nigerian poet and a novelist. He was born on 24th of April 1921 in Nigeria and died on 25th of March 2019, so just recently, in Nigeria itself. The first why that we should be asking is, why did Gabriel Okara write this free verse at the first place? For that, we need to go back to the history of Nigeria. Nigeria became a British protectorate in 1901, which means the Britishers already were controlling Nigeria right from the year 1901. Colonization lasted until 1960, when an independence movement succeeded in gaining Nigeria its independence. Nigeria first became a republic in 1963 but succumbed to military rule, which was led by Major Kaduna Ziogu and his accomplice. Bottom line, the Britishers ruled Nigeria from the year 1901 to 1960. So here we can understand that when the poet Gabriel Okara was born, Nigeria was already being ruled by the British. And when he was 39 years old, the Britishers left. Now, the reason we dived into the history is we wanted to know the intention of the poet and the intent of the poem. Gabriel Okara lived, experienced and witnessed two different cultures. One, the native and traditional African culture, and two, the Western culture. Of course, the Britishers lived long enough to pass on the culture to the African citizens. So we cannot deny that they would have immensely implied their thoughts, their culture, and everything on the native Africans. And this is exactly what's highlighted in this poem. Gabriel Okara gets nostalgic and sentimental when he compares the humane and traditional African culture with the selfish and unfeeling, unconcerned Western culture. Let us start understanding this poem stanza by stanza, line by line, in depth. Let's consider the first stanza. Once upon a time, son, they used to laugh with their hearts and laugh with their eyes. But now they only laugh with their teeth, while their ice block cold eyes search behind my shadow. From the first line, we can easily make out that there is a father getting utterly nostalgic with his son and sharing something out of his past. There is a sad feeling of longing, of feeling to go back to the past. And there is a strong reason behind it. This father today gives a hearty smile to each and every person he meets. He is aware of the significance of smiling and laughing wholeheartedly with another person, because he is aware that a smile is the best way to greet someone. Smiling not only has the power to elevate one's mood, but it can also change the mood of others and make things happier. This father had experienced the native Africans greeting each other wholeheartedly. It looked as if they were completely involved with all their senses when they met someone. This is because there was unconditional love between the localites many years ago. But after the Britishers invaded Nigeria during their tenure, they changed the way the local Africans behave with each other. They made Africans selfish and self-centered. The father looks at people laughing and realizes that these people do not really mean it. They only laugh for the sake of laughing and not out of real happiness or true affection. So, although their faces reveal laughter, their inner feelings are completely opposite. He goes ahead to mention their ice-cold eyes, cold as a block, searches behind his shadows. Metaphorically, he means that whoever he meets has some selfish intentions and they keep looking for all the benefits that they can get from him, keeping the fake smile, keeping the artificial smile intact. In simple words, the author states that the people have become unreal, getting influenced by the Western culture. Moving on to the next stanza. The second stanza says, "There was a time they used to shake hands with their hearts, but that's gone, son. Now they shake hands without hearts, while their left hands search my empty pockets." The father then talks about the declining of yet another greeting gesture, handshake. Many years ago, the native Africans were absolutely mindful of the person they met. They used to involve all their senses and completely acknowledge the other person's presence by involving in their life's matters. This was clearly seen by the way they shook hands at the very first place. A firm handshake, looking deep into the person's eyes and giving a larger-than-life smile. The heartwarming gesture which indicated connectedness. It looked as if they were connecting right from their hearts. And sadly today, the father says, people don't do that anymore. They shake hands just for the sake of greeting. They don't really feel involved or connected or concerned with the other person. That's what the Western culture has passed on, being selfish and self-centered, being self-obsessed and self-absorbed. The father tells his son that today, people don't miss an opportunity of taking advantage of the person they meet. They always look for their own benefits. Metaphorically, it's like using the right hand to shake hands and the left to see what can be grabbed from his pocket. The pockets in the stanza are said to be empty, which means even when that person cannot find anything valuable from the person they meet, they would keep digging for even the smallest profit that they can gain. To summarize this line, now they shake without heart. This one, now they shake hands without hearts. It means without any kind of feelings for the other person. And the next line, while their left hands search my empty pockets, meaning while their greedy mind keeps looking for any advantage that they can get. Moving on to the third stanza. Feel at home, come again, they say, and when I come again and feel at home, once, twice, there will be no tries, for then I find doors shut on me. Now, these are the phrases people commonly use when they meet or depart, during or after a meeting. The father noticed that whenever he met someone, that person mentioned, please make yourself comfortable, just feel like home, don't worry, consider everything as yours, suit yourself. But at the back of the mind, the same person would be feeling cold-hearted and would not at all be meaning what was said. Inside that person's heart would be a selfish desire to acquire all that he or she can from the father or anyone they can find. And over and again this thing happened. The father went once, he was asked to feel at home. No benefits were gained by the person he met. Nothing significant was found worthy of being obtained from the father. When he started leaving, the person said, please come again, it was a pleasure meeting you. It was a pleasure having you. Second time he went, the same thing happened. Sugar-coated, artificial words were spoken without a tinge of feeling in them. The third time, the same person knew about the father. So, owing to the unworthiness of the father, he was bluntly refused. The father was bluntly refused to even enter the house. The doors were shut when the father showed up. When the father approached the house, the doors remained closed. This clearly means that the sweet words which were spoken in the first and second meeting, for example, feel like home, see you soon, make yourself comfortable, all of these words were devoid of any feelings. If that person really meant it, he would never have shut the doors at the first place. Never would the cold-hearted behavior be seen. If the words were authentic, the person would do anything to genuinely make the person feel like home. The person would be eagerly waiting for the father to show up. The person would keep the doors wide open for a warm welcome. The person would not be so cold-hearted. But the father, with the pang of sadness and nostalgia, tells his son that such gestures, my dear son, do not exist today, do not exist anymore. The invaluable gestures that existed years ago before the Westerners invaded Nigeria in the native African society have completely disappeared. Moving on to the fourth stanza. So I have learned many things, son. I have learned to wear many faces, like dresses: home face, office face, street face, host face, cocktail face, with all their conforming smiles like a fixed portrait smile. What's the situation here? The father faced many rude behaviors and eventually he learned his lesson. The lesson not to be kind anymore, not to be real, authentic or genuine with anyone, no matter how well they behaved. Not to be a well-wisher, but to be greedy, to be materialistic and money-grabbing, not to show hospitality or humane attitude, just wear different masks according to different occasions. Therefore, he says he has learned to change his behavior according to the situations or occasions. For example, at home, he would have a home face, which is calm, relaxed and stress-free. When in the office, he would wear an official expression, an office face that prohibits personal relationships and allows only professional behavior. On a street, he would keep his face numb, not at all jolly. He would be plainly walking expressionless. And then comes the host face, a face that one makes when the guests are invited or when that person is surrounded by people. Then we have a cocktail face. The line says, a cocktail face with all their conforming smile like a fixed portrait smile, which is the last line of the stanza. So, what is a cocktail? Cocktail is an alcoholic drink consisting of a spirit or spirits mixed with ingredients such as fruit juice or it may be a cream. So, the results of the research indicated that cocktails and hard liquor made the respondents feel confident and energized when compared to other drinks. So, when the author was throwing a party, when the author invited people for a ceremony, he kept his cocktail face when inside he was feeling different. To conform means to comply with the rules, standard or laws. The father used the phrase conforming smiles, which means smiles or faces which agree, meet or comply the situation in which he is in. A portrait is a painting or a picture. So just like the expression which is there on a picture, which is drawn on a portrait of a person who has obviously an unchanging face, stagnant expression or a fixed smile, similar is the expression worn by this father when he is into certain situations. He says he has to wear expression or he has to change expressions according to dresses or clothes. This stanza indicates that people are not themselves anymore. They are not real. They are artificial. Their expressions do not reflect their inner feelings. Friends, this poem was written back in 1978, which is 42 years ago. But don't you think that this is true even today? Some people who never call you throughout a year suddenly call you up. Once in a blue moon, they talk sweet and then come to the point where they demand some favor from you. Well, they would ask something that they badly need. Now, if we are kind and positive, of course, we will not hesitate to help. But later, when the same person stops refusing to answer your own calls and turns your back at us, you realize that you have been used. But later, when that person turns his or her back at us, we realize that we have been used. The author stresses on the same concept of cultural shift, which resulted in faking the artificial expression. Moving on to the fifth stanza. And I have learned too to laugh with only my teeth and shake hands without my heart. I have also learned to say goodbye when I mean good riddance to say, glad to meet you, without being glad, and to say, it's been nice talking to you, after being bored. So, this is a deep stanza. Let's understand the meaning here. We as humans have been adapting ourselves from thousands of years, and isn't it our little survival secret? The father tells his son that rather than being himself and getting hurt over and again, he has learned to camouflage just like other people. He has learned to wear different identities to suit the situation. He has trained himself to fake gestures depending on circumstances. For example, faking a smile, faking a laughter when he did not really feel like smiling or laughing genuinely in the presence of others. He has programmed himself to react depending on how the other person behaved. He has convinced himself about the uselessness of being kind and hospitable, like it used to happen years ago in between native African people. He knows very well that in order to survive, he has to be artificial and non-congruent with his inner beliefs. The father cites several examples to elaborate his point. When he meets a person, he would say, as the tradition goes, I am so glad to meet you. But his inner feelings would be something like, I'm not at all glad to meet you. Meeting you is not at all a happy occasion. And when the discussion is over, he would say, it has been nice talking to you. But in reality, he would be feeling bored and turned off and worn out. When it is the time to depart, the father with a fake smile, with an artificial smile, would say goodbye, but in reality he would mean good riddance. Now, what is the meaning of this phrase, good riddance? It means a loss or departure that you welcome. Now, I'll give you a sentence, you might understand the meaning of this phrase. The principal has finally retired and most of the teachers are saying good riddance. Another example, when John decided to give up his violin classes, the relieved family quietly said, good riddance. So, getting rid of something for the good. Moving on to the next stanza. I believe it is the 6th stanza. What does it say? But believe me, son, I want to be what I used to be when I was like you. I want to unlearn all these muting things. Most of all, I want to relearn how to laugh. For my laugh in the mirror shows only my teeth, like a snake's bare fangs. Now, the father speaks from the bottom of his heart. He really means what he tells his son. He tells his son how badly he yearns to go back to the good old days when people showed immense hospitality, when people were there for each other during the dire situations, when people were selfless instead of selfish, when people were generous instead of greedy, when one did not have to wear masks in order to get the work done. The father longs to go back and live out the traditional African values, when people unconditionally loved each other, when the rich African culture full of kindness thrived, when there was positivity all around and people were considerate for each other. He says, when I was your age, he says, when I was of your age, things were drastically and positively different. And look how sad it has turned out to be that the Western culture has negatively impacted the mindsets and heart sets of the people. The father says he wants to unlearn the muting things. What is this word, muting? Muting means to reduce the strength or immunity or intensity of. He wishes to forget about the new cultural adaptation that he had to fit himself into, as it makes him less human. He wants to change the discourteous thought process of the society into the one that is polite and courteous. Then he tells his son of the things that he wants to learn, giving a lot of emphasis on it. He wishes to learn how to laugh, because it has been years since he laughed his heart out in someone else's presence. It had been a long time since he had a candid conversation with any random person he met in the society. He wants to bring his real self out instead of always acting and revealing the side of his personality which was completely unreal, fictitious, or artificial. And why does he long for these things? That is mentioned in the last line. For my laugh in the mirror shows only my teeth, like a snake's bare fangs. Whenever he laughs in front of his mirror, which is placed in the house, he realizes that the laugh is disguised and fake and is just meant to please others. The laugh is not real. That is not the way he laughs. This laugh that he has got adapted himself to resembles to that of the fangs of a snake. Now friends, what is a fang? A fang is the tooth of a venomous snake by which poison is injected. The father experienced the widespread pessimism in his current society, how people no longer care for each other. They cared only when they needed something. All these things are no less than poison for this father, for a person who lived freely once upon a time and now is feeling caged due to the cultural shift implied by the Westerners. Finally, we have reached the last stanza of this poem. What does it say? So, show me, son, how to laugh. Show me how I used to laugh and smile once upon a time when I was like you. Now comes the request from a father to a son, which seems impractical and unachievable. He asks his son to show him how to live freely, how to laugh freely, smile freely without any mental blockages. The father requests, please son, show me how can I live fully. We can imagine the son to be in his teens, and so looking at the son and all the things that he is learning, the father goes back in time, become desperately nostalgic and actually worried about the son, and keeps telling his son how people behaved in those times, how you should behave in future, when his age was same as his son's. This request, as we know, can never be fulfilled. The father's request to his son, the father's plea to his son, can never be achieved. Why? Because the son has never lived in that setup. Those times have gone. He definitely would be understanding and relating everything. The son would be listening patiently, understanding and interpreting, comprehending the things that the father is speaking about. But can the son really help? No, the son is helpless, completely helpless. And all that he can do is give some emotional or moral support to his deeply regretful and nostalgic father. And can a cultural shift, can a positive cultural shift, can the traditional African values be brought overnight, quickly, instantly? No, that is impossible, because the negative cultural shift brought in by the Westerners happened over the years when they were ruling, when several rulers changed, when the lifestyles were hampered forcefully, when the people's awareness was changed. Now, if you want to bring a positive cultural shift, it can happen gradually over the years when people are educated, when people are made aware of the social life that they should be in. By several mediums, one has to educate large masses of people to bring in the positive cultural shift. So we can say that although the father puts a plea across his son, nothing is going to change. All that he can gain is the lessened burden of his heart by sharing his thoughts to his son. So, to summarize, there is a father and a son, and the father is deeply nostalgic and wants to live out the traditional African values which were full of kindness and courtesy, hospitality, and eliminate the current situation that he is witnessing, the current situation of pessimism and complete lack of empathy. So friends, I hope you've understood this poem. If in case you have doubts or questions, please feel free to let me know in the comment section. If in case you want to comment on my style of teaching, if you want to give a feedback or a suggestion, I am more than ready to hear you out. If you have any other concept in your English language or even grammar, that you want me to explain, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comment section. I thank you for watching and I hope you have a blessed day ahead.